Yeah. You miss it. Yes. Great.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Brian, here. Libby,
Here.
Becky,
Here.
Fritz.
Here, I declare we have a quorum. Can I get somebody to make an a motion to approve the minutes? Oh, no, to approve the agenda of this meeting.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. I need somebody to make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting of July 3rd.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. New business council to consider a special event request from the Fortville Area Resource Mission Farm to hold a Treats on Main and Farm Community Fair on Saturday, October 28th. Come on up.
I'm Kelly Griffey with the farm. You pretty much said it all. So we're wanting to get approval for our Treats on Main this year. This will be the third year that we've had it. And like I said, it's gonna be on October 28th from 10 to 2. We'll be having the area businesses hopefully involved in supplying maybe like reduced food or something like that. And then have our vendors like we did last year and the nonprofits and churches from the area. This year, we're gonna add in a costume parade along with our costume contest. So it's pretty much the same, venue and everything. We're gonna close from Stat to Pearl like we did. Last year, we tried to do it a little bit, extend it out, but that didn't work. We went back to Stat. So that's how we're gonna plan on doing it.
Okay. Any questions, council?
No.
No?
This year you could block off all the way down there because Maple Street, Maple. Yeah.
Oh, all the way down to the.
Yeah. It's
67,
hardly,
yeah.
it's hardly used anymore. And then you've got, yeah. I know, get my left and rights right.
Yeah.
And then you could use the picnic tables if
Ooh,
you had
that's a good
food
idea.
vendors down there.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I love this event.
Yeah, you too.
That's my,
It's getting
it's
bigger.
one of my, I love
every
all
year,
of it.
Seems like, so.
Yeah,
yeah.
this is a fun one.
Any public comment? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the special event request for F.A.R.M for Treats on Main, Saturday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you. Count as a second on new business is council to consider ordinance number 2023.
7B.
7B. I'm doing, one of these days it'll be filled in for us. Adding a fee to demolition permit. Joe, you want to talk on this or?
Turn my mic on. Can you hear me out there? All right. This is something that Jerry, our building and inspector and code enforcement officer had brought to our attention that we did not require a permit for demolition and haven't ever, I guess. And his concern, I had sent you his comments earlier, but his concern, consisted of if there happens to be a building that's got asbestos or something hazardous in it, utilities, just to give us an opportunity to make sure that they cap them and shut them off correctly. If there's a well, septic, how to get rid of the tanks or cap off the sewer lines or anything like that. So that was something that he's starting to look at. And in order to establish a fee for that, we need to amend our fee schedule. And that's what this ordinance amendment is in front of you.
I have a question on this. Does it? How big of a project are we talking about? Somebody wants to just demo, hey, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's-
remodel my bathroom.
Yeah, that's something that we probably can get a little more clarification for the next meeting, because I did talk to Jerry about that a little bit today, as far as like, if somebody's got a mini barn or a deck or something or tearing down, that's not going to take a demolition permit.
No,
If it's like one of these old buildings on Main Street or in town that could have some asbestos and stuff in it, and they start tearing out walls, then that's something that may require it. So it doesn't hurt to ask those questions, I guess, as far as if someone's going to be needed. But we can maybe get a little more clarification for how that process will work.
When we do demolition, are the neighbors included on this? Do they know by it? Because
Not.
I know with the,
on
I
this
think they have
list,
to
there
do
is. You have to notify your
They're
neighbors.
wanting to do, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that they would have to notify surrounding businesses and neighbors in a period of time before, I think it says in here.
and kept getting
right.
phone calls about it, and I didn't even know it was up for demolition, and
Yeah.
there were camps like next door, kids were gonna be there, and it'd be nice if the neighbors knew what was going on.
And we've got a couple of properties, maybe 3, hopefully within the next year, we're going to try to get rid of ourselves. Houses that the town's been acquiring.
But not in regard to internal demolition, it's entire structure.
Good, if it's like a remodel, if they come in to do some, in some of the older homes, and that's where I said maybe we'll get a little more clarification and how that will be required as far as.
It doesn't really mention that in here. In the
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, and that's what I was asking Jerry about earlier as far as that, and he understood that there might need to be a little clarification to that.
Okay, I want to table this one. Don't even take a first reading on
You
it.
could actually do a first reading and then amend it before you do the final reading at the
Oh,
next.
okay,
Because if you don't, then you gotta go back now and change your ordinance number you just assigned to it. Which is the reason why we typically don't assign those.
paperwork. Okay. Can I get a motion to do a first reading on the demolition?
First reading of the ordinance of the town of Fortville amending the town code to include a fee for demolition permit.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay, the ayes have it. I like that. Okay, council, to consider ordinance number 2023-7C.
Yep.
Amending the parking schedules.
So this is something that I mentioned to the council a few meetings back that I was going to be working on to bring to you for approval for consideration. This was mainly to add the parking, the no parking areas for the new development, the new subdivisions going in, say Mount Vernon North and Northwest Fortville. We left that kind of vague in here, and it just says no parking one side of the street designated by signage. That's the way it used to be laid out for, say, Windstone and some of the other subdivisions. But now that Windstone is there and been there for a while, we know exactly what side of the street. So I went ahead and just fixed the language in here so it's spelled out. Some of the new subdivisions, they're subject to change, jump back and forth depending on, how they communicate with the post office and which side of mailboxes end up on. And so there's a possibility that some of those could flip flop. So we didn't really lay those out in stone, I guess, at this point. You can see anything in red, there's the changes that I suggested. I will let you know that the format is different with the table, the way it's structured. This is matching the codification. So once we send our ordinances off and have them codified, this is the format that they use. So I just put it in a different format as they had it laid out. The only other change that I had on here that suggested was Stat Street from Main to Madison to restrict the parking on the north side. There's usually only one or two cars on the north side down through there, but it does make it a little bit tight. And with all the construction on Broadway and stuff, it really is apparent that, that being kind of a main corridor now that those cars that are parked over there kind of, hinder, make it a little bit difficult. So that was one that I had put on there. And then you'll see toward the end of the ordinance, I crossed out some of the restricted parking because they're redundant in another chapter, 7106, 7107, and 7108. So rather than have them redundant, where we end up amending one and not amend the other, so then we'll have two conflicting ordinances. So I just I struck those out because they are covered. We didn't get rid of them, they're just covered under another chapter. And if anybody has any questions.
Pearl Street, this one on Pearl Street says no parking between Main and Knoll. Well, there's 2 or 3 spaces there now.
Main and Knoll, there's no parking on the south side along the building.
Okay, but it doesn't say that here. It just says no parking between Main and Knoll.
Yeah.
It needs to say the south side.
Yeah, I can add south side. And I don't know, to be honest with you, it may have been this way all along. And when we were trying to create parking for the area, we may have striped it.
Well, I think that's the first time it's ever been marked when we redid stuff,
Yeah.
because it was never marked when
Right.
all the years.
So, and have you had any issues with it as far as the way it's the cars that are parked there now?
No, when we have events, people park there.
No, I mean on the north side, where the way they are parking. South side is restricted.
Between Main and Knoll.
Yeah,
I think,
I
I think
don't think we ever see any. I don't think we ever see any parking in that area regularly, but I know when it gets busy in town, they do park there because parking is a premium.
sure.
I think it's confusing though. I mean, I don't think it's an issue like people getting around it or anything, but I think it's confusing because they can park there and then across the street, they're parking on the other side. And then like for farmer's market, people just start parking
Yeah,
on that side.
even though it's not striped.
Yeah.
They're parking on both sides of Pearl Street.
And on Stat Street across from my house, because of the event markings that were done probably in spray paint instead of like chalk,
Mhm.
they look like parking spaces. So
We've
people are
ordered,
parking there.
we've ordered a lot of new no parking signs. And they have an additional sign that goes along with them that says this side, so we can make it very clear.
Is there any way
So
we can
it's-
clean off the event spray paint though?
Might be able to take a pressure washer to it or put some chemical or something on. I know in the past, you try to put like a black paint over it that kind of covers it up. All that does is prolongs the wear on the actual white
Uh-huh.
paint or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then the black wears off and the white, it just lasts that much longer. So I'll take a look at it and see if we can kind of get it to be out. That's a good comment as far as any marking for events. They need, if you're going to use spray paint, it should be little dots or use chalk, the word will come off.
Right.
So putting too big a,
Cammie's Cause always does it the right way and then they get upset because whatever's left over from whatever event was before them, it messes up their
yeah.
way they lay it out.
So if everybody's in agreement on that Pearl Street, I can put no parking Main Street and Knoll on the south side.
Yeah.
That work?
Any public comment? Yeah, Dave.
There is one, but they're putting tents on top of it. Yeah, for the farmer's market.
Maybe you could double park.
Trunk and sell stuff out of it. They've got vendors there right now.
That's a good question, because I mean, you'd almost have to make it a mobile or a movable sign, because you wouldn't want it to be handicap all the time, but just for the market. Down by the VFW, I think, is where the handicap stuff. Mhm. My question is, what usually happens as soon as you prepare for something like that, then next year the farmer's market relocates.
Yeah, they'll
He goes to a different place. I don't know that we want to actually put in an ordinance form, but I just wonder if there's a the way that we could
For the
designate. one
event,
of
just
them.
set a temporary. you know,
Right, if
sign
we
at that
find a
one,
place
yeah.
to do it, yeah.
Are we allowed to do that? Like do a temporary parking for?
Ask your chief if he's gonna write him a ticket, if he won't. If he's.
We have temporary handicap placards that we put out during our event sometimes with our no parking signs.
Yeah.
So we can get with F.A.R.M and get them a couple placards that they could designate some spaces up
Yeah.
close.
That'd be
Good,
good.
good
And
fit.
normally we just put them on a pole. We drive the pole on the ground, 3 or 4 inches and then, or wire them to a tree. So yeah, we can do that. And no, we're
Do you
probably
have a
not.
suggestion where you want to park? And you better be there every week. now.
Well, it'd probably be taken by somebody else. That's
Yeah.
the problem. You better get there early.
Yeah.
If there's nobody there, we could always put a temporary handicap there during the farmer's market on the north side of Pearl, between Main and Noble or something.
Oh, that might
That might be a good, place.
be a good place. Basically. to talk about.
Yeah.
Was it 3 or 4 spots?
Okay. Can I get a motion for the council to consider the ordinance? Amending parking schedules?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-7A and ordinance amending and restating the town's parking regulations for certain streets and areas. And with the change to Pearl Street being no parking on the south side only.
Yeah, 7C.
I thought you said A.
No, 7C.
You said A.
I thought you said
You
A.
said A. I don't know where you got A, but you said. Yeah.
I'm reading, I wrote. It says the-
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, council to consider amending to the development agreement to or for Ridgeview West. Joe.
Actually, Alex, do you think you can explain this one?
Sure.
for me?
Yeah, it's actually, we're contemplating whether to amend the development agreement or what you have in front of you is actually a standalone agreement that contains the terms that the developer agreed to on the capacity fees, the tap fees, and so forth, the meter pits. We've talked about this in the various public meetings that we've had for the Ridgeview project. And so this just memorializes those terms and ensures that Ridgeview will pay those capacity fees that Buzz presented and so forth in the process. So it's just putting this final bow on that piece and they'll be able to move forward. So what we're asking for is the council to authorize Joe to sign this agreement, and then there's a memorandum of the agreement that will have the developer actually record against the title to the property, so that if they transfer it to some other LLC or entity, these terms apply to them as well.
Any questions? Any questions from the public?
So is this actually we're asking for them to allow me to sign, or
Yeah.
we're asking them to approve the agreement.
To approve it as you presented and authorizing you to sign it
Okay.
on behalf of the town.
Are you good with everything in there, Joseph?
Mhm. I think it could have been a couple more pages longer.
I think so. Smaller print. But
So the memorandum doesn't have to be mentioned separately, just in conjunction with the,
Yeah, it's mentioned and there's a provision in the agreement that says that Exhibit B is the memorandum
Okay.
and that the developer is responsible for recording that with the Hancock County Recorder's Office.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to amend the development agreement for Ridgeview West as written and suggest that Joe can sign the agreement as well.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Joe.
I don't have much for you this evening, but we'll give you a quick update on the water plant. I did let you know last week that the water treatment plant, the new plant was up and running, pumping water into the system. I guess toward the end of the day, Friday, they were having an issue with one of the pumps, or the variable speed pumps that wanted to run full bore even when it was turned down. So they did shut it down over the weekend, ran on the old plant. When the contractors got there today, they were able to work on that and get that dialed down. And they're working on I believe we're pumping now out of that plant again. And the generator showed up today. So it was good to get that here. So that was one of the things that was kind of holding us up. And other than not having the water plant, the new one up and, dialed in and all the bugs worked out of it, that was one of the reasons why we had to keep the old plant, to have that redundancy, because it had the backup generator. So until we had a backup generator for the new plant, we couldn't move forward tearing the old one down and disassembling that. And with the storm we had to come through a couple of weeks ago, taking out the power in the water plant and the sewer plant for at least 24 hours, it kind of showed how important it was to have backup. So that's pretty much all I've got today, unless you have anything for me.
Any question?
No.
Thank you. Okay, he's not here, neither is Adam. Patrick.
I'm gonna get up on this one and go over to the public mic. Have an award I'm gonna present this evening. Okay, Detective King earned his second life-saving commendation on July 2nd. And I'm going to read that, and it details all his efforts. It says the Fortville Police Department believes in recognition of the officers, their actions, and outstanding efforts in the service to the community and their fellow officers. In keeping with this belief, the Fortville Police Department recognizes Detective Chris King for his outstanding efforts that occurred on July 2nd, 2023. On July 2nd, 2023, a 911 call came into dispatch for a person in cardiac arrest in a vehicle located at 7604 North 200 West, Fortville, Indiana. The gentleman inside the vehicle did not have a pulse and was not breathing. Detective King was working regular road patrol for the town of Fortville, but knew he was close to where the call was and immediately started to the call. Detective King, along with Hancock County Deputy Pruitt and Indiana Conservation Master Officer Johnson, started life-saving measures by using an automatic external defibrillator and performing CPR. The person in cardiac arrest was transported to the hospital after getting a pulse back and an airway was established. Detective King's quick response, recognition of the severity of the emergency, and immediate actions directly resulted in the saving of a life of a person in cardiac arrest. Failure to act or action after delay would have led to a cardiac tragic outcome. Therefore, Detective King's actions qualify him for this life-saving award and reflects great credit upon himself and the Fortville Police Department. Given this 17th day of July, 2023, signed me, Patrick Bratton, Chief of Police. Normally, this pin would go on his uniform for his first award, but he already has one of those. This is the second one within this year, and he probably has a third one on the way. I'm waiting for the outcome to hear from the medics on that. So I put this one into the frame so he can hang this one up in his house instead of on his uniform. So thanks, Chris, for your dedication.
Yeah, I was doing it too.
I remember, when did we okay to have defibrillators in the police cars? It was a few years ago. We got,
15.
yeah, it was something like that. I wasn't on the council yet, but I remember.
And collect money from the public and fund donation.
Okay,
You're gonna need a date for them because they're 10 years old and it's technology.
right. Okay, I remember that. It did. That was a good call. Whoever's on the council at that time. Clerk treasurer is not here. Alex,
Questions for me?
any questions for Alex? Nope. Okay, public comment. Come on up, Dave. You got to walk up now.
You have a handicap parking.
You gotta sit up front next time if you know you're gonna be talking.
I have two questions. Number one, on new business 2B. You didn't ask for public comment
Oh, I thought I did. I'm sorry.
on the demolition.
Oh, on the
I know where
demolition?
There's a building that needs a demolition permit.
Pardon me?
I know where there is a building that needs a demolition permit.
Okay,
You need the address.
I will, I don't know where that's standing right now.
There's a petition before the BZA for a variance. And so there's supposed to be some conversations going on.
Wednesday.
Yeah. So that's where that process stands.
So it's this Wednesday, they're supposed to be having a meeting.
If sounds like that's right. I haven't been.
It's the 19th, as far as I know. Did you not get notified?
Oh, well, no notice.
There's some confusion with that meeting, I think, that the neighbor